Few faces in Hollywood history have carried a story the way Jack Elam's did. One glance at that trademark squint and you knew you were in for trouble, or a good laugh depending on which era of his career you were watching. With a craggy face carved by time and a single eye that seemed to size up the entire frontier, Elam could steal a scene without ever drawing his gun. He wasn't a traditional leading man, nor did he ever need to be. Instead, he became the character actor every Western and comedy longed for. Unforgettable, unpredictable, and entirely his own. But behind the legendary stare was a life defined by perseverance, reinvention, and an uncanny ability to turn misfortune into a lifelong strength. From an Arizona mining town to the sound stages of Hollywood, Jack Elam's journey proves that sometimes the most distinctive stars aren't polished. They're forged in grit and a little bit of luck. Jack Elam entered the world as William Scott. Elam on November 13, 1918, in the dusty mining town of Miami, Arizona, a place where copper veins and hard labor defined daily life. America was still finding its footing after the First World War, and by the time Jack was old enough to explore the world beyond his doorstep, the Great Depression was tightening its grip on families everywhere. Life wasn't easy for the Elam household, and young Jack quickly learned that survival required a combination of resilience and quick wit. His childhood took a dramatic turn when a simple schoolyard quarrel changed him forever. During an argument with another boy, Jack suffered a devastating injury that left him blind in his left eye. For many children, such an accident might have spelled the end of childhood adventures or even their confidence. For Jack, it became both a challenge and, unknowingly, a future calling card. That wandering, lazy eye gave him a look no one could forget, a feature that would one day make him a Hollywood original. Despite this setback, Jack refused to let the injury define his ambitions. He grew up during a time when the country was a mixture of jazz-age excitement and Depression-era struggle, and he absorbed the lessons of both worlds. Dream big, but work harder. He attended Santa Monica Junior College, where he majored in accounting, proving early on that he had a practical side as sharp as his sense of humor. Long before cameras ever captured his crooked grin, Jack was crunching numbers as a bookkeeper and auditor for several companies, including film studios. This unexpected connection to Hollywood planted a quiet seed of possibility, though acting wasn't yet on his radar. He was known among colleagues as meticulous and dependable, someone who could balance a ledger as effortlessly as he could tell a great story over coffee. These early years gave Jack more than just a career foundation. They gave him perspective. He understood ordinary people, their struggles and joys, because he'd lived them himself. When he eventually stepped in front of a camera, that authenticity showed. Audiences would later sense there was something real behind the squint, something earned through life's tougher lessons. By the late 1930s, Jack Elam was already proving that a small-town boy could carve out a respectable career in the bustling cities of the West. After graduating from Santa Monica Junior College with his accounting credentials, he wasted no time putting those skills to work. Numbers came naturally to Jack, and soon he was balancing ledgers and auditing accounts for a variety of businesses. The era was hardly forgiving. America was climbing out of the Great Depression and inching toward the uncertainty of World War II, which meant stability was precious. Jack's steady hand and sharp mind quickly earned him a reputation as someone who could be trusted with complicated finances. He worked for banks, real estate offices, and even food service companies. Each position added to his understanding of how different industries ticked, and each sharpened his attention to detail, a trait that would later serve him well on movie sets, where long hours and constant changes demanded patience and precision. It was during this period that Hollywood began to enter his orbit in an unexpected way. Jack accepted auditing work for film companies and production outfits, quietly stepping into a world that fascinated him. While he was busy poring over receipts and balancing budgets, he couldn't help noticing the electric energy around studio lots, the clatter of camera equipment, the excitement of extras hustling to their marks, the hum of creative people chasing stories. Though he remained focused on his accounting duties, something about that environment lodged itself in the back of his mind. Colleagues later recalled how Jack's wit and easygoing charm made him more than just the numbers guy. He had a knack for storytelling, often sharing dry jokes and sharp observations that left coworkers laughing long after the workday ended. Friends teased that he had the timing of a natural performer, even if he was wearing an accountant's visor instead of a cowboy hat. But Jack's life wasn't all spreadsheets and late-night audits. He also showed a restless streak, one that pushed him to explore opportunities beyond simple bookkeeping. He dabbled in various side jobs, from managing small investments to assisting friends with fledgling business ventures. Each experience expanded his understanding of people, their quirks, their ambitions, their struggles. Without realizing it, he was gathering the raw material that would later give his screen characters such authentic grit. By the mid-1940s, the lure of the entertainment world grew harder to ignore. Jack began accepting occasional background work around film sets, not as an actor yet, but as someone curious about the process. Watching directors shape scenes and actors bring dialogue to life stirred something new in him. He could see how a single gesture or a perfectly timed pause could tell an entire story. That realization would soon become the spark for a dramatic career shift. Still, Jack remained cautious. A steady paycheck was important, and Hollywood fame was far from guaranteed. But the seeds were planted. The one-eyed accountant who balanced the books for film companies was slowly preparing to step out from behind the ledger and onto the silver screen. Armed with life experience, quiet confidence, and a face audiences would never forget. By the late 1940s, Jack Elam's life looked, at least on paper, like a picture of stability. He had carved out a solid reputation as an accountant, earning a dependable income while moving comfortably through the business side of Hollywood. Yet the longer he lingered on studio lots, the stronger the pull became. He'd watch actors stride past in their wardrobe trailers, overhear directors' coaching performances, and feel that spark, the sense that storytelling was far more thrilling than spreadsheets. What began as casual curiosity grew into a restless ambition. Elam was in his early 30s when he finally decided to give acting a genuine shot, an age when many aspiring performers were already seasoned professionals. Some friends thought it was too late for such a drastic career pivot, but Jack saw things differently. He'd lived a real life, packed with hard lessons and rough edges, and he knew those experiences could translate into something unique on screen. His weathered features and that unforgettable wandering eye set him apart in an industry crowded with polished faces. In fact, what many might have viewed as a liability became his greatest asset. Breaking in, however, wasn't as simple as showing up. Jack started small, picking up background work and uncredited roles wherever he could. He haunted casting calls and studio offices, bringing his easy charm and wry humor to every meeting. Casting directors quickly recognized that his rugged appearance and natural grit were perfect for westerns and hard-boiled dramas. While other actors fought for handsome leading man parts, Jack leaned into his distinct look, volunteering for outlaws, henchmen, and gunslingers, roles that required presence more than polish. His first significant breaks came in the early 1950s. Among the standout early appearances were Rawhide, 1951, and the classic High Noon, 1952, films that helped define the Western genre. In these roles, Elam didn't need pages of dialogue to make an impression. A single sneer, a slow squint, or a deliberate pause conveyed menace that words could never match. Audiences immediately recognized him as the kind of villain you couldn't forget, and directors took note. Jack's bad guy image quickly became his calling card. He mastered the art of the quiet threat, the outlaw who didn't have to brandish a weapon to make viewers nervous. His gravelly voice and unpredictable expressions added layers to even the smallest parts, turning what might have been throwaway characters into memorable figures. For a man who had spent years balancing ledgers, Jack seemed astonishingly at home in the dust and danger of Hollywood westerns. But Elam's appeal wasn't limited to the big screen. Around this time, television was entering its golden age, and Jack seized the opportunity to expand his reach. He began landing guest spots on popular series, bringing his trademark menace to living rooms across America. His knack for stealing scenes with minimal effort made him a favorite among producers, eager for reliable character actors. What truly set Jack apart was his willingness to embrace what made him different. Many performers might have tried to hide a wandering eye or soften a rugged face, but Jack leaned into those features, understanding that authenticity was more compelling than conventional good looks. He turned what some would call imperfections into a powerful brand, proof that Hollywood had room for talent of every kind. By the mid-1950s, Jack Elam had gone from a behind-the-scenes bookkeeper to one of Hollywood's most recognizable character actors. His journey wasn't the product of luck alone. It was the result of courage, perseverance, and a belief that life's quirks, whether a childhood injury or a late start, could become strengths rather than setbacks. As his career gained momentum, audiences learned to expect a jolt of excitement whenever he stepped on screen, and Jack knew he had found the work he was truly meant to do. By the mid-1950s, Jack Elam was no longer just an intriguing newcomer with a memorable face. He was fast becoming one of Hollywood's most reliable scene stealers. Casting directors knew that if a story needed a villain who could unsettle an audience with a single look, Jack was their man. His crooked grin, weathered features, and that unblinking eye created a presence that leapt off the screen. Even in small roles, he left an impression that lingered long after the credits rolled. Elam's climb was steady rather than explosive, built film by film, television episode by television episode. In Kansas City Confidential, 1952, his quiet menace elevated the film's already tense atmosphere. Westerns such as Ride Clear of Diablo, 1954, and The Far Country, 1954, continued to showcase his knack for portraying outlaws who were both believable and larger than life. Viewers didn't just see a villain, they saw a man shaped by hardship and mischief, and that authenticity came directly from Jack's own life experience. His breakthrough years coincided with the golden era of the American Western, when audiences couldn't get enough of dusty frontiers and quick-draw showdowns. Jack fit the genre like a perfectly worn pair of boots. He wasn't merely acting. He embodied the unpredictable danger of the Old West. Directors valued his ability to communicate volumes with a tilt of the head or a slow, deliberate squint. Sometimes he barely spoke, yet his presence electrified a scene. One of Jack's defining qualities was his versatility within the bad guy mold. He could play the cold-blooded killer, the bumbling henchman, or the sly con man with equal skill. In Babyface Nelson, 1957, he delivered a performance both sinister and darkly humorous, showing that his villains could have surprising layers. Critics began to note that Elam wasn't just another heavy. He was a character actor who brought intelligence and unexpected depth to every role. Television further amplified his reputation. Guest spots on iconic shows like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Cheyenne, and Have Guns Will Travel made him a familiar face in living rooms across America. Each appearance added to the growing legend of Jack Elam as the quintessential Western outlaw. Audiences came to expect that any time he sauntered into a saloon or leaned against a hitching post, trouble was about to follow. But Jack's rise wasn't limited to the frontier. He proved just as effective in contemporary crime dramas and thrillers. Films like The Girl in Lover's Lane, 1960, demonstrated that his talents extended beyond six-shooters and dusty streets. Still, it was the Western that made him indispensable, and producers often built supporting casts around his distinctive energy. What endeared Jack to colleagues was his complete professionalism. He might have played scoundrels on screen, but off-camera he was known as warm, funny, and unfailingly kind. Co-stars recalled how he diffused long days on set with witty one-liners or unexpected jokes. Directors appreciated that he never treated a role as just a paycheck. Whether he had 3 lines or 30, Jack brought the same commitment and focus. As the 1950s gave way to the 1960s, Elam's reputation as Hollywood's favorite rogue was firmly cemented. He was a character actor in the truest sense, someone who didn't need to be the lead to make a film memorable. In a period when polished matinee idols dominated posters, Jack proved that audiences craved something more rugged and real. He showed that a performer could build a remarkable career not by chasing stardom, but by embracing individuality and delivering every time the camera rolled. By the end of this chapter of his life, Jack Elam had appeared in dozens of films and television shows, each performance adding to a mosaic of grit, humor, and authenticity. He wasn't merely surviving in Hollywood. He was thriving, carving out a niche that few could challenge. The one-eyed accountant had transformed into one of cinema's most unforgettable faces, a living reminder that sometimes the most indelible stars are the ones who never try to fit the mold. By the early 1960s, Jack Elam's reputation as Hollywood's most unforgettable villain was firmly in place. But Jack was never content to be only one thing. He understood that audiences could tire of even the most magnetic outlaw, and he also knew he had more to offer than a menacing stare. As the Western genre itself began to shift, Elam seized the chance to show another side of his talent, a move that would keep his career vibrant for decades. The turning point came when filmmakers and television producers realized that Jack's distinctive look could be just as funny as it was intimidating. That wandering eye, which had once struck fear into the hearts of moviegoers, could also deliver a perfectly timed comedic beat. Jack embraced the opportunity. With natural timing and a dry wit, he slid effortlessly into roles that poked fun at the very villains he had spent years portraying. One of his earliest and most beloved comedic performances arrived in Support Your Local Sheriff, 1969. Playing the hapless yet oddly endearing sidekick to James Garner's slick lawman, Elam turned the archetypal bad guy into a lovable rogue. Audiences roared as he delivered deadpan one-liners and stumbled through slapstick situations, proving he could draw laughs just as easily as he once drew guns. The film's success sparked a follow-up, Support Your Local Gunfighter, 1971, where Jack again stole scenes with his easy charm and self-deprecating humor. His foray into comedy reached a glorious high point with a cameo in Mel Brooks's classic Blazing Saddles, 1974. Amid the film's madcap chaos, Elam's brief but memorable appearance reminded everyone that he could send up the Western mythos with the best of them. Critics praised his ability to balance menace and mirth, and fans delighted in watching a once-feared villain laugh at his own image. Television, too, welcomed Jack's lighter side. In addition to his continued work on Western series, he took on roles in contemporary comedies that introduced him to a younger generation. Shows like Alias Smith and Jones, The Dakotas, and Temple Houston allowed him to mix grit with a wink, making him both approachable and iconic. His comedic instincts were sharp, but he never lost the grounded authenticity that had defined his earlier work. What made Jack's transition so remarkable was his willingness to reinvent himself without losing the essence of who he was. Many actors who specialized in villains struggled when tastes changed or genres fell out of favor. Jack, on the other hand, leaned into change, recognizing that humor and danger were two sides of the same coin. His ability to laugh at himself not only extended his career but deepened the affection audiences felt for him. Behind the camera, colleagues marveled at how seamlessly Jack moved between drama and comedy. Directors noted that he brought the same professionalism and attention to detail, whether he was delivering a chilling glare or a perfectly timed punchline. He remained the consummate character actor, versatile, dependable, and endlessly engaging. By the end of the 1970s, Jack Elam had achieved something rare in Hollywood. He had successfully bridged the gap between the feared villain of the 1950s and the beloved comic presence of a new era. Where others might have faded as Westerns waned, Jack's willingness to evolve kept him not only relevant but beloved. His career became a testament to the power of reinvention and the value of embracing every facet of one's unique gifts.